Micity check, a micity check, check, check. So we just had a great conversation, and I'm really sad that I didn't record it properly because I didn't get Unify's voice. I want to do a abbreviated go over of the notion that existing status quo failures give you pause for concern about my approach. That my approach doesn't seem very people-focused. That especially as somebody living in Detroit, I'm guessing you're not witnessing around you every day thriving communities interacting peaceably and well with their government. Is that fair to say?
The exact opposite.
Okay. So, are there a lot of abandoned buildings there?
Yeah. They just won't fix them.
Whoa.
Just old buildings being spray painted.
Who owns the buildings?
I don't know. They say a lot of people from overseas come over, have been coming over in these past couple years buying properties, but I haven't seen much of anything being built. Downtown is looking fine, but the inner city is just horrible.
It's an interesting phenomenon because you have a city where the amount of buildings and space and stuff like that is designed to deal with a much larger population than is currently there. So you're unavoidably going to have abandoned buildings, and when you have properties that aren't being treated as though they were properties. Normally, if you have a property and you own a property, you're going to be doing something with it. You'll either be renting it, living in it, running a business out of it, or selling it, or potentially using it for something like, oh, I'm going to conserve the wildness of this land, or something like that, I guess.
Yeah.
But in this instance, you've got people who have own properties in Detroit, and who at some point realized that there's no way they could sell it for anything close to what they thought it was worth or what they paid for it, because the demand was much lower than the supply. So I'm curious as to what those individuals do. Do they just sit on those properties hoping that things change at some point and just leave them there standing untended until circumstances evolve? Did they give up their rights to them in some sense? Like say, you know what, this isn't worth anything, and I'm having to pay property taxes on it, and I'm not using it for anything, and I can't find a buyer. Here, government, you take it. Is that what they do?
Well, what I hear is that they take it. They just take it if it's not being well managed, or if property is not being used in some kind of way. The government, because we got that emergency manager, where they control everything. It's basically one person controlling everything, and they make the decisions. And so we got a lot of vacant properties around, where if the properties ain't being used or they feel like they not being well managed, they just take it and they sell it, I guess, for a low price. Well, I don't know the exact price. I heard a few years ago they were selling properties for $1. I actually heard that.
Interesting.
And they try to sell them to people. I don't know if they do like background checks on these people to make sure they can keep up the properties, but they just sell them to anybody who is willing to buy them.
Well, I mean, if they can seize them for non-operation, then there's no risk in selling them to anybody, because the person does non-operation, they just seize them back. Yeah, I know you just gave us $40,000 for this property, but we're taking the property back. Well, can I have my $40,000 back? No, we're seizing it for non-operation. But I bought it. It's mine. I can do or not do what I want with it.
True.
Not in this city. You can't. I'm the city king.
That's basically what it is.
It's
we have
ridiculous.
a king.
It's ridiculous. This is the thing. Detroit, you can't manage it back to health. You got to knock down a bunch of buildings, return them to regular old land, and have the actual city sort of naturally be the size it ought to be with the amount of services it ought to have, and actually have an economy that produces some sort of value be driving the situation, rather than having this nightmare of a bureaucratic government oversight. Let's centrally plan the whole thing. Individual agents, you and me, human beings, are the only people who ever get anything done. And if you put a government official, they're a human being, but they can only do one person's work. We assume that they'll sort of control all the other people and make shit happen. But the other people don't have any real incentive to do the work. It's just a paycheck for them. They're not doing something they care about.
And then there's a lot of money that just, over the past, I guess, 10 years, just went to waste, or it just sat in a bank account somewhere where it was supposed to go from the state to the city. And supposed to be, spent wisely to make the city better, but nobody spent it. Nobody did anything with it.
Well, it's because it doesn't belong to anybody, so nobody cares about it. I mean, and the thing is, nobody has any incentive to make sure it's used wisely, because it doesn't belong to anybody. When you get a big pile of plunder, of dollars that have been taken from others for general good reasons, then the custodian of those dollars, they didn't have to earn any of them. So they're much more casual in the spending of them than if they did have to earn them. That's why you're always seeing like city managers and shit like that coming up for corruption charges because they expensed $100,000 in fine French meals last year. That's normal because, it's the city's dime. I didn't earn any of the money myself, so I don't feel the value of it.
True.
And that's what happens with taxpayer dollars. So, if they had all these taxpayer dollars in a big pile, they're supposed to spend it on the city and do something good. Okay, why not unincorporate the city, break it into a bunch of little small cities, and give that money directly to the individual people in the cities? Do you think there's a better way the government can spend that money than to say, we've got $1 billion set aside for infrastructure improvements in Detroit? How many people live in Detroit?
I don't know the population.
I think it's
I
about
can look it up right
200.
now.
Yeah, could you? I think it's about 200,000. If you had $1 billion, and instead of doing city improvements, you took that $1 billion and you split it up and gave a chunk of it to every one of the 200,000 people in Detroit, it would be $5 to $1 million. It'd be $5,000 a piece. Everyone get a check for $5,000. I think they'd prefer that, wouldn't you? Prefer that over the whatever promised fucking infrastructure things they're supposed to do?
Yep, because then a lot can get done. Because a lot of people who actually do want to see the city thrive, but have been held back.
Right, well, they would be more able to do something if they had an extra $5,000 in their pocket, and everybody else in the neighborhood had an extra $5,000 in their pocket. Some of them would waste it on whatever. Some of them would invest it and become wealth generators. Some of them would maybe choose to invest it back in the community to do a community good. But everybody would use that money for something that actually helps them specifically. And in the process, it's very difficult to do anything that is productive without also helping somebody else. It's almost impossible.
True.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Detroit's a really interesting story. And, of course, you have that story told so vividly by Eminem. Everybody who doesn't live in Detroit, everything they know about Detroit, they know from Eminem.
Uh-huh. 8 Mile and back.
Is he popular in Detroit?
Well, yeah. I mean, as much as you hear him on like radio all over the nation, but here he just every day, all day, we just play him.
Right on. He's a little hit and miss. Some of his stuff's a little better than others. You know what, when it came out, I thought this is the greatest album of all time. Was Marshall Mathers LP. The way it starts out, you know the first track on that?
I forget.
You don't want to fuck with Shady.
Yeah.
Cause Shady will fucking kill you. And
ENTP, right?
I think he is. I mean, I say he's fucking totally an ENTP. You know what makes me almost certain of it? The way and I know this is a movie and he didn't write the movie, but I bet you he had a lot to do with how those last scenes played out. The way that the approach of saying, well, what I'll do is I'll get up there and I'll say everything bad you could possibly say about me. I'll spike out all your shit. And I'll win that way. And my offense will be all through the fact that you're so spiked out you got nothing. And I'm way more clever than you. And I won't even attack you. That's fucking textbook. That's great.
Yeah.
You know, and it's such a good strategy, and it works all the time. If you know you're having a conflict with somebody, you walk right up to them and you say, "Here are all of your best points." That's the first thing you say, and then as you proceed in the argument and they make those points again, you say, "I've already told you that's your best point. I've already answered it. We started with that, so I wouldn't have to deal with this." It's great. Yeah, I love that movie. It's a good movie. It's too bad about that chick in that movie's dead, you know?
For real?
Yeah, Brittany, whatever. She's dead.
Yeah.
She died of a drug overdose.
That's how little we care about her. Brittany, whatever.
Oh, I mean, it's funny because when you see somebody in a movie, especially if you really enjoyed the movie, you made the leap in it, you sort of get the feeling like you know that person, you know, like, oh, I know what she was like. Yeah. I know what she was basically like. She was like one of those people. She was like that character in that movie that she played.
And that's all you know him as.
Yeah. Do a lot of people have guns in Detroit?
But yeah. No, it's a lot of elderly people here, but I mean, you still got a hefty young population that carry around guns.
Why do they carry them around?
I don't really know. Protection, but it's like if everybody is trying to protect themselves, who are they protecting themselves from?
Well, I guess the other people with guns. But
they are also trying to protect themselves.
See, I think that a lot of when young people carry guns around, I think it's for a different reason. I think it's because they want to feel badass.
Yeah.
I think when old ladies carry a gun, okay, fine, it's for protection, but
the young people was no real excuse other than you got big balls.
Well, there's not a good outcome that's going to come from that. Even if you have a legitimate self-defense claim, first of all, it's hard to have a legitimate self-defense claim and emerge uninjured, in my opinion, if you're dealing with guns. Like, to have a legitimate self-defense claim, in my book, you almost have to have been aggressed upon first, although there are some exceptions to that. So it's like, okay, if I'm carrying around a gun, there might be an occasion where I have a legitimate self-defense claim, but almost certainly in such an occasion, I will either be taken by surprise, or I mean, I'm not gonna have an opportunity. The attacker's not gonna say, "Okay, now look, I got a knife. I'm coming at you, and I am gonna use it. You can totally believe that. I'm gonna stab you. Okay? Look around, make sure you don't, there's
Yeah,
no
I'm
easy
looking.
way for you to run away safely right now. You can't do it. Okay? Are
Mm.
you sure? Okay, good. We're
What about,
good?
what about over there? What about over there? Though? I can run over there,
No,
over to the right.
you can't get out that way. There's a wall there. So now we are all clear. Everybody see this. Yes, Eric, you have a legitimate self-defense claim if I attack you, as I'm going to right now. 3, 2, 1, ah! And then, okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
I use my gun and shoot you. I've made all the moral calculi necessary. I have a legitimate claim to a self-defense. To me, that's why there's no point to try to prepare yourself to engage in self-defense. The whole purpose of living in a society that has order and stuff like that is that the cops are supposed to do that for you.
Justice.
Yeah, the cops are supposed to attain justice. So I don't know. I don't like the idea of carrying guns around, especially for young males to carry guns around, because young males, they have I think it's under 25 or something like that. There's one part of the decision making brain that isn't yet fully done developing, and that's why like all the idiots in the world are
Mm-hmm.
males between 16 and 25. All the suicide bombers, all the fucking people who drive their car off the side of the mountain road because they were speeding while drunk. All those people are all 18 to 25-year-old males.
And it's not as if you ask them, they'll be like, "Well, I want to make the right decision, but I like doing stupid stuff." They actually just legitimately believe that they're doing the right thing, or
Right.
that it's justified in some kind of way.
What I found in Delilah, and I remember when I had the same perspective, is she's not saying these words to me, but her basic perspective is you, Eric, sometimes give me advice about things or say what I ought to do or whatever, but you have no fucking clue because you see, I'm a young person. I'm like 18, and our generation understands things in totally more in ways that you can't even conceive of. So your perspective is irrelevant to me. But I'm not going to tell you that. But I know that whatever I do, and when I'm looking for ways to make decisions, at no point will I ever consider to myself, well, let's think about what my dad thinks I should do. It just is never going to happen. So, because she doesn't have the perspective to understand that she lacks perspective. When you get older, you get perspective means you can look back at what you did from a certain distance and understand it more clearly because of that distance. She doesn't have that perspective. For example, she's made noises in the past about wanting to get a tattoo. And I keep telling her, Delilah, you don't want to do that. You'll think that's cool for a little while, and then when you're older, you'll wish you hadn't gotten it. 100% guaranteed. But I
Is
can
that
tell she's not even listening.
a young adult thing, or is that more of an ENTP thing? A bit of both.
I do think ENTPs are particularly bad at hearing other people's truths and listening to them.
Well, that's kind of. Well, I kind of feel like that's everybody in a way. We just prefer. I don't know. A lot of people don't like to be objective. We like to be subjective, right?
Well, I mean, realistically, we all understand our own situation, our own life better than anybody else can understand our situation in our life. There's no disputing that fact.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes causes us to make some mistakes. Like, we have a correct understanding of our relationships with other people in that we don't want to put too much faith in any single other person and say, well, that person knows the right answers, and so I'll just listen to that person. We don't want to be a follower of any sort.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And, of course, as NTs, the reason we can't tolerate the notion of being a follower is because we know that we're perfectly as capable of whoever we might be following. of parsing out this issue and determining the correct whatever.
True.
But here's the thing about that. At some point, it comes down to, I think this is why INTPs have trouble with motivation. At some point, it boils down to going all in spiritually. So I didn't learn how to believe in something I was doing until I was 30 years old. Because I had not, until that moment, done any actual real work for a business that required me to produce to justify the pay they were giving me. Prior to that, I had worked for the government in special ed, doing pretend work that was necessary to meet the paperwork requirements of the Individuals with Disability Education Act, even though the things that those requirements demanded were impossible, ridiculous,
and didn't help the kids.
Pointless, completely pointless, But and everybody knew that, which is why we didn't actually have to do any of those things. We just had to do some ritual that we called those things, and then fill out some paperwork on it. So, I mean, that's what I had done up until that point. Once I began doing regular education, teaching actual kids, and having a boss who was a private education services provider who had to provide good services for his clients, or else they simply wouldn't choose to pay him, unlike public school teachers. So I was called upon then to perform. I realized after a certain amount of time, I assumed I was doing a great job when I first started. I assumed I was, even though I was doing a shitty job. He said, what you're doing is entertaining them. You're not teaching them anything. And I was offended, What? He taught me TE. He taught me to run a tight ship and be a boss and execute protocols.
So that's where your motivation came from?
No, what happened is a moment when I was fighting it spiritually. I wasn't sure if he was right about the fact that this is how we ought to be teaching kids, and doing my normal NTP shit where I don't concede anything to you. I don't care how much of an expert you are. I don't care how much experience you have. I don't care how effective you are at your business. I don't care how many clients you have. I concede nothing to you. I assume I know better than you do about everything, including your business of teaching grammar to children. That's what I was doing. And then there was a specific moment where he sat me down and he gave me a little talking to. And I went home and I realized, I need to swallow my fucking pride and direct my attention to trying to do it exactly how he wants me to do it. And one of the things that made me realize this is he said to me in his little talking to that I wasn't committing to doing anything forever a certain way. I was learning to do it this way. And then I would choose how many of those tools I was going to use as I developed as a teacher. He also told me no matter who any individual person was, when they first came into the profession, they would not do a good job for at least 2 years. And I realized, okay, so I get this now. This is not an abstract thing, which is what I was trying to make it. Well, how should we educate children abstractly? And I was even then I was still interested in autonomy and stuff like that, and I was concerned about the bossiness. I just had a gut hatred of it, And
right.
And so what I realized is, well, if I don't think of it abstractly, if I think of it instead as an actual results thing, like, if I do this well, I'll be able to get all these kids to demonstrate that they've internalized this information at a rate of this percentage in this many days instead of this many days. That there are concrete, measurable outcomes, right? Because that's the thing. Most things in life that we do or are asked to do lack that. They lack a concrete, measurable, outcome-based metric. Teaching grammar has it. Most teaching doesn't. So with grammar, I can say, I know in my head the whole grammar. I know the order of operations for teaching it. So it goes subjects, direct objects, compound subjects and compound direct objects, verbs, compound verbs, linking verbs, prepositions, what are those called? Appositives, object complements, infinitives, gerunds, participles, adverb clauses, adjective clauses, noun clauses, nominative absolutes. That's the whole fucking grammar, right? And you finish it. You start here and you're done here, and then you know all of English grammar. So that's the sort of thing you can get actual, concrete, measurable data on how well you're succeeding. And you can see, oh, I did a bad job teaching today because this outcome is lower than I wanted it to be. But Eric, you really did a good job teaching. Doesn't fucking matter. This is the only thing that matters. You did a bad job or good job based on this and this only. That's a good thing to experience, right? Because you're just like, oh, this is how work should be. This is the outcome on which I'm being measured, and I am allowed the flexibility to attain that to the best of my ability. I had to learn his way to do it first, and I never did get anything close to as good as his way. For that, he mastered. He's been decades doing it. Hi everybody. Hi homie. So right now, Unify and I are talking a little bit about stuff. I don't know, work.
They're just being all over the place.
Yeah, NTs, being NTs. So anyway, the end of that little train of narrative there, Unify, is that when I bought in spiritually to the idea, and I said, I'm going to not retain distance. I'm going to not be cynical. I'm going to not maintain skeptical doubt. I'm going to not position myself as the one who ultimately knows best. I'm going to position myself as, I don't know shit. I'm going to assume I don't know shit. I'm going to try to learn everything I can from this guy. I'm going to try to do it exactly like he says and see how well I can do. And not make any further thoughts than that. Just that I don't know enough right now to even have any further thoughts until just I need to learn from this guy. It was a remarkable moment for me because it was the first time in my life I'd ever had that thought. First time.
I'm just not having that thought with, I guess, is being able to grow in life, even economically, from people's help. I don't like help at all, but I mean, it takes time to learn.
But collaboration, certain collaborative arrangements, is not a charitable arrangement. It's win-win, and that's why. And that's the thing. When we advocate for government assistance to people, we're denying them that opportunity. We're denying them the opportunity to feel responsible for their own achievements. Because you don't feel good about earning your welfare check. You don't feel good about earning your food stamps. You just feel like this is another symbol that I'm down on my luck. Now you can wallow in that if you want and be like, I need this and give me more and they're not helping us enough. Or you can be like, this isn't me. I'm not a charity case. Either way, it's like if it's the second one, you're probably still going to spend the food stamps. You're not going to feel good about it, right? Nobody wants that to be the solution for their problems. That's a great thing. That's a great sentence I just realized there. Nobody wants government assistance as the solution to their problem.
Or any assistance.
Well, I think everyone wants assistance, but we want mutually beneficial, warm assistance, willing assistance, consensual assistance. Like, I need help with all kinds. I want assistance. I'm specifically looking for a woman to come in here and help me with shit. I need somebody to keep track of stuff. Like
something that would help you grow.
Well, it's not just to help me grow. I plan to offer her shit too, I've got things to offer. I'm not selfish like that. I understand. I want to have that kind of relationship with people. I want to say, look, I see value in you on this level. It could be economic. It could be I like you. I like hanging out with you. It could be, you're a nice lady who will love me and have sex with me and take care of my shit for me. It could be any number of things, right? So, regardless of that, I want to make sure if I'm getting any value from you, that you're getting value back from me. Because if I'm getting value from you, then obviously this relationship is providing me value. So
True.
It's only reciprocity is something individual humans naturally do with each other. There's no reciprocity in government programs. So
this is we just went to the ends of the earth, I guess.
Yeah, well, I've been
trying
to get more of a handle on the NE actually, but with mixed success. The other night I made a recording of a song called "If a Week From Now We're an Open Flower," and my intentional process was I'm going to try to make this thing as clean and efficient as possible, both. So I'm not going to fuck around and say, let's record. I know, okay, now I've got the basic structure of the song down. I'm going to loop it 10 times and record 45 minutes of me noodling on the guitar over it. And then listen to all that, looking for a loop I like, maybe. And basically end up with just some random piece of it that I chose for no reason, and I got tired of listening to it. That's my normal, or I get to the end of the 45 minutes and go, okay, well, that was a good warm-up. Delete that take and do another one right then for another 45 minutes. I do that shit all the time. It's fucking so dumb. And anyway, that song, I really made an effort to be effective and efficient, and I recorded the guitar. I did it basically in 2 takes. I got it clean. I left it alone. I didn't do anything else with it. I didn't make, now let's come up with some new parts that weren't here before. Didn't do any of that shit. Then I recorded the vocals. I did a couple takes on the vocals, and that took a little longer because I tried to get, and I did the smart thing. I didn't say, which I often do, well, Eric, just delete the whole take and you do it again, and you'll get it all in one take this time. You're not going to get it all in one take, and then you have to do it again and again. So you just accept the fact that you're going to do a little chunk to record over the bad part. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's way faster and way less fucking stupid. So I did that, and then I put a little bit of drums under it, and I had 2 vocals parts, and I sort of, maneuvered them arranging-wise. And then I was very, very, very careful with the levels. So a lot of times, anytime you have vocals, you have some parts that are louder than other parts. And you can use compression, which is what people normally do, to quiet out the loud parts and louden up the soft parts.
Yeah, that's what I use.
Oh, you make music too?
Yeah.
Unify, how is it we've been talking this long and this is the first time I've heard this?
Well, I don't like bringing personal shit up.
Don't you want to collaborate? I want to collaborate. Maybe that's why you didn't bring it up. You don't want me to try to pressure you into collaborating.
That might be a subconscious reason, maybe.
Well, look, if you're making beats and you could send me one. If you're making musical songs, what kind of music are you making?
Well, range from EDM to hip hop to just in that ratio, in that range right there.
So do you rap as well, or are you just in the production end of it?
No, I don't have the confidence for that. So
you're one of a few types who can do it. INTPs can do it. My friend Matthew, he doesn't rap, but he freestyles songs, and he's an INTP. Although he does less freestyling now than he used to. But it is something you have the ability to do if you practice it. You have to be willing to fail at first. So look, I mean, the thing is, what you do to get it to, if you wanted to do that, is you just start, um, you start by thinking about sentences just as rhythmic elements. Don't worry about the rhyming. That's the number one thing to start. You go, I'm gonna write. There's a beat or something, and you go. It's a sentence. Yeah, it is a sentence. It's a sentence. And you try to put it in different rhythmic combinations against the beat, and see how that goes. And then you sort of let it grow from there. And you don't worry about the rhyming until you get the sort of feel of it. But see, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't rap like currently popular rap of this drill style. Have you heard of that expression before?
No.
It's a style where they go. It's a lot of fucking on beat stuff, like like they're drill sergeants yelling at people or something. I don't know, but
like 80s NWA.
No, I mean it's. Ask me the question again.
Is it like 80s NWA?
No, it's new style. I'm saying this new style that they have. There's another thing that they have. They're called trap, but I can't get anybody to explain to me what makes something trap.
I've been trying to learn it, and this is coming from an INTP. My head might explode just trying to understand it. I don't want to go down that road.
I don't think it is anything. I think it's just a word that they've ascribed to something they think has certain qualities. I know the beats are complicated, unnecessarily complicated.
Yeah.
So I don't like it particularly because I think it's extroverted intuition style. It's not introverted intuition style.
I guess the mixing is easy, and they master it in a lot of complex ways. That might be what it is.
Well, I mean, as far as the similarities in the songs that are identifying themselves as trap, I haven't noticed it from the mastering end of it. I mean, that's a weird thing to say that's what makes something trap is how it's mastered. Like, I mean, I just use a effect called light mastering in Audition when I master stuff, and it just sort of takes out the harshness from the listener fatigue area and boosts up the right range of the bass. So it's like the kick drum booms a bit more. But I actually think that things are best mastered, not at all, if you do everything perfectly before you're done with it, and you have all the right tones and everything, you shouldn't actually have to do anything to it. But the problem is you never get it that perfect. You never get that perfect instrumentation. Like these kicks, this kit, I put very little EQing or anything on it because it sounds beautiful. It's such a good kit. And whereas my voice, I typically have to EQ it a little bit because my voice tends to fall in the listener fatigue range. I don't like that much treble in my voice. So I use this compressor called voice thickener.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. So yeah, I totally want you to send me something though, dude. Like if you're making beats that don't have any raps over them, send it to me. I'll rap over them. I want to rap over one of your beats, and I'll put it up on the internet, and we can both listen to it. Remember, there's no chance of failure. Good, then do so. Well, let's do it right now. Here, I'll send you invitation to a Dropbox. Can you send me your email address in the chat here? You can send it to me privately if you don't want others to see it.
Oh, like a link?
Yeah. I'm gonna send you a link to. I'm gonna tell Dropbox to invite your email address to a Dropbox folder that's basically a file transfer folder. So you just put something in there, and then it'll show up on my computer too. There's all sorts of messages I have not read in the chat. Sorry, QB Sauce. Poor QB Sauce is long gone, but I just ignored. 688, 700. Okay, so actually that's a bigger population than I thought. I don't think it's actually that many people there anymore.
Yeah, it said it was from 2013 or 14.
What is happening to QB sauce?
He wanted something.
I, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I try to warn people. I don't usually pay attention to the chat.
You don't scroll down, or you just
It doesn't move down. It needs to move automatically, and it doesn't. I'm not ignoring him on purpose. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know.
Well, whatever. Eric, please, I've waited 2 hours for me to look at a picture? And then I click it, it's not even there anymore. Well, I
I'm
did
just
see one of
typing
the things he linked to me. All right, so that's not what I'm here to do. See, I get so distracted by things.
Me too. You looking at hold on. I could get the link, but
I'm going to send you the email in a second. There, okay, so...
did you close out all those tabs you got open?
I'm still filming, that's why everything's so slow. Thanks for watching Talk with Famous People.